What's good, everybody? It's your boy Brandon Scott again with Locked On Wizards. Today, we're going to do a preview for the Wizards game Friday night versus the New York Knicks and DC. Could Bilal Coulibaly work at the two guard beside Jordan Poole in the same backcourt? And what is Johnny Davis's trade value? We're going to talk about that and more next on Locked On Wizards.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's good, everybody? It's your boy Brandon Scott again. My guy, the real Ed Oliver, is taking the day off. But we definitely appreciate you guys making Locked On Wizards your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every single day. And today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. So we're going to start off with a Wizards versus Knicks preview for Friday night in DC. Then we're going to look at, could Bilal Coulibaly work at the two guard beside Jordan Poole in the same backcourt? And what is Johnny Davis's trade value? Because you know, and I know, he's been catching a lot of DNPs. So we're going to talk about that and more tonight. So let's get into it. Now, Friday night, the New York Knicks coming to town for the second home in-season tournament game. Friday night, 7 o'clock, and 4-game losing streak, man. So, I mean, as you guys know, we're not really going to look at keys to victory per se. We're going to look at what things to look for, what young guys look for, that type of thing. But kind of real quick, we're going to look at a depth chart of the New York Knicks real quick. Obviously, at point guard, Jalen Brunson, he's been playing well in New York. He's a really good point guard who knows how to run their offense. A two guard, it is day-to-day, but Quentin Grimes for right now is slated to start at the two guard. RJ Barrett at small forward, power forward Julius Randle, and at center, Mitchell Robinson. But looking at their bench real quick, they got an intriguing bench because they have a bench who can definitely play. It's going to challenge our bench. Emmanuel Quickly, Dante DiVincenzo, and Josh Hart. So they definitely have a formidable bench. So what would be some keys, I guess? Who am I looking at? I mean, I'm going to give you a couple players that I'm looking at and really one stat. But what, I guess, realistically, what things are we looking for as far as if we have a chance to beat the Knicks at home? Well, obviously, we have to protect the perimeter, man. We've got to protect the perimeter. As you saw from the last game, man, I mean, against the Mavs, you know, they're number one in three-point shooting, and they took us to work, man. So we've got to protect the perimeter. We've got to communicate, especially in transition. We've got to man, it's hard to say because I feel like I say this every game, but transition is big. Transition D, perimeter D, protecting the interior. Rebounding is another key that I'm looking at. We've got to rebound. Mitchell Robinson is another big who, I guess, his body size is very similar to Daniel Gafford, but he is a guy who can rebound at a high level. So I'm looking at it as a matchup. I definitely want to see how Daniel Gafford does against Mitchell Robinson. I think the battle in the paint is definitely going to, whoever wins that battle is going to help with interior defense and with rebounding. So I think Daniel Gafford has to play tough against Mitch Robinson because he's a guy who's a shot blocker and rebounds. Now, he's, like I said, he's kind of like Daniel Gafford. He's not a guy who's going to expand the floor. You know, he's not going to stretch the floor. He's not going to shoot jumpers. He's primarily a guy who's looking to rebound, lob threat, and block. So very similar to Daniel Gafford. But young guy I am looking at, I'm going to say two of them. And two guys who really been under the microscope from this fan base and from the front office is Denny Avdia and Bilal Coulibaly. Denny matching up against RJ. I think that's another matchup to kind of look at. I'm looking to Denny to really play tough defense on RJ, try to force him to have a bad shooting night. But I want to see him being more aggressive on the offensive side, especially shooting the ball, driving the lane. Definitely try to get to the free throw line. I want to see Denny a lot more aggressive in this game because his offensive game, I'm trying to tell y'all, man, his offensive game is really shaping up. You know, we've said it for a couple seasons now that defensively, he's a dog. But if he could expand his offensive game, if he could work on driving the lane with more confidence, driving the lane, finishing through contact and traffic, working on that three-point shot and using his left hand, he has improved in everything. And he's working on the left hand. You see him try to work on his left hand, and it's going to come along, man. But as far as shooting 3-point shot and driving the lane, and especially finishing through contact, he has excelled. He has definitely improved in those areas. So that's another matchup I'm looking at. But Bilal Coulibaly, does the good times keep rolling? That's what I want to see. His 3-point shot. Now we know that, after selecting him in the draft, he was a very raw prospect. That he wasn't on many people's radars up till they started doing a lot of coverage for Wembanyama, and and then you see a lot of exposure for Bilal Coulibaly, right? But I think we definitely hit on this draft pick. This kid can defend at an all defense level, but what's the thing? Just like Denny, who can defend at an all defense level, can the offensive side come along? And his 3-point shot, he is starting to take a lot more 3-point shots. He's starting to put the ball on the floor, become a playmaker. He's starting to create his own shot. I love what I see from Denny and Bilal, man. These two guys, as far as prospects for this organization going forward, they have me very excited. They really, really, really do. I think these two guys are definitely part of the foundation. Going forward for this rebuilding team. I love what I see from Denny and Bilal. So again, looking at the Knicks, again, 4-game losing streak, y'all. Is it a winnable game? I believe it is. I believe that if we can definitely, if you look at our roster construction, are we really going to shut it outside of Denny and Bilal? Do we have any lockdown guys? All we ask is for them to show effort, to put some energy on the defensive side, definitely get in the passing lanes. But I think if we can be a stickler on the perimeter, if we can definitely play harder in transition defense, make rotations faster, definitely go out to shooters, man, a lot quicker, we have a chance. I definitely think this could be a winnable game. And I get it. I know what you're going to say, Brandon. We're rebuilding. Who cares who wins? But, like I said, me and Eve have said it time and time again, man, that we both get it. We're pro rebuild. I believe the best course of action for this franchise was to go forward with a rebuild. They did that. They got a whole new front office. I'm happy. I'm content. I know that I'm going to see a lot more losses than wins. I get that, and I'm content. I just want to see effort, okay? I just want to see effort. I guess on my face. I want to see something on effort. I want them to play hard. That's culture. This is year one of a rebuild. This is where you solidify culture. How do we build that culture, that DC culture as far as the Wizards, man, which is defense, which is playing hard, which is playing to win. If you play hard and you lose, I can take that. But if you lay down and you just expect to lose, that is not a culture. That is not that is not building a culture. So definitely looking at them to be very active on the offensive and defensive side and just play hard. That's all I'm asking for. So before we move on, kind of reiterating a couple of matchups I'm looking for Friday night against the Knicks is definitely Mitchell Robinson versus Daniel Gafford, Denny Avila versus RJ Barrett. And I definitely want to see us more active as far as perimeter defense, interior defense, transitional defense. I want to see more communication on the defensive end, and I want to see rotations better. I want to see us making up for that space between shooters, man, getting into shooters' faces, being more active on the defensive end. So, again, Friday night at 7:00 p.m., the New York Knicks will be joining us in DC at 7:00. So definitely tune in, and we'll see if we can try to get a dub. We'll see if we get more effort. So I'm not even going to do a prediction. Like I said, I pretty much gave you my keys or the matchups I'm looking for. So we're going to go from there. So next, we're going to look at, could Bilal Coulibaly work in the same backcourt with Johnny, Lord have mercy, you're already talking about Johnny Davis, Jordan Poole. And what is Johnny Davis's trade value? And would a change of scenery trade work for him going forward? But before we talk about that, tonight's episode is brought to you by Betterhelp. Now, y'all know me, man. I'm a military guy. I'm an Iraq war veteran. I'm just like everybody else. I've gone through I've been depressed before. I've gone through, a bad first marriage. I definitely have been in situations where I needed somebody to talk to, right? BetterHelp is there. I definitely recommend BetterHelp. Like I said, I've benefited from therapy. I believe it's definitely a good tool to have as far as dealing with whatever issues you're dealing with, right? So I definitely recommend it. But if you're thinking about starting therapy, definitely give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule, which is key. Just fill out a brief questionnaire and get matched up with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. So Find your bright spot this season with Betterhelp, because Lord knows, Wizards fans, we're going to need some therapy, man, to get through this season. So visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. Tonight's episode is also brought to you by Gametime. I'm a big guy as far as going to games. I'm going to Wizards games, going to Nationals, Orioles, Commanders, DC Defenders, try to go to college games such as Georgetown, UVA. I mean, I'm always going to games, man. I'm trying them all. SeatGeek, Ticketmaster, but to me, Gametime is just the best one. And I'm going to tell you why. Because you shouldn't have to worry about buying tickets to your next event. Gametime is a fast and easy way to buy tickets for all your sports events and music, comedy shows, and theater events all near you. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the best price guarantee. Gametime takes guesswork out of buying tickets. I'm trying to tell you. See the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you ride, which is big, man, because I'm trying to tell you, there are good seats and there are some bad seats. All the prices show your total up front, so you know you're getting a great deal without all the hidden fees, which if you look at a couple of other ticketing apps, hidden fees are the killer. Buy tickets in seconds with 2 taps, and you are good to go. Gametime has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event, and even an hour after it starts. It's a place to find last-minute tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed, y'all. And Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league out there. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. All right, y'all, we got it out the way. So let's get into it. Obviously, looking at the current construction of the rotations of the Wizards, Tyus Jones is the point guard, right? But we know that as a veteran expiring deal, the likelihood of him being dealt at the deadline is very, very high. Because in my opinion, out of all the vets, he definitely has the most value, in my opinion. Coming in here, taking over for Monte Morris, we expected him to be that floor general. And for the most part, his assist numbers are decent, right? He has a floater. He's added, roughly around 7 to 10 points a game. There's nights where he's had bad offensive nights, but I told you my expectation is for him to at least get his assist numbers up. But I'll say this, man. I definitely expect him to be dealt at the deadline. So Jordan Poole, long term, I kind of want to see it. A lot of people have been kind of asking, would a backcourt of Jordan Poole and Bilal Coulibaly work? And I'm gonna say yes. I believe it will work, because let's look at that real quick, right? So if we slide Jordan Poole into the starting point guard position, which we know what he can do, what he can do is score at a high level. He's an electrifying player who can score. But what can he do? Efficiency is usually an issue. He's a young player who is kind of finding his way as far as his fit on this team, his franchise. But he's also he's a young man who's still maturing, right? Sometimes he can take low percentage shots. Sometimes he can be a little bit Hollywood. But by saying that, I think he's a young player who can work in DC if he figures his game out, and he can work out the kinks in his game, which is being high efficient, shooting higher percentage shots, working on his turnovers, and utilizing the talent around him, right? Especially if he slides into the point guard position. But looking at Bilal, again, we know what he can do. Defending at a high level. And that's why I think it works, because if you look at point guards who are score first point guards, usually a 2-guard who has a little size to him and can defend is the best remedy to that backcourt. That I think it definitely will work, because I think that Bilal's defense is going to kind of hide the deficiencies in Jordan Poole's defensive game. But I think if you look at a lineup where, you got Jordan Poole starting, Bilal Coulibaly at the 2, Denny at the 3, Kuzma and Gaff, you got size, and you have 2 guys who can defend at a high level. Now, Kuzma, is about hit or miss when it comes to defense, but his size allows him to be a little more aggressive on the defensive end. And obviously offensively, man, with his ability at his size to drive the lane and score at will, to hit those clutch shots. And again, I get it. Efficiency is usually an issue with him too. but you're definitely getting a nice combination of defense and scoring by sliding Bilal Coulibaly into the 2-guard position. Now, there are some people that think that maybe Corey Kispert could be that answer. And I'm going to say this, Corey Kispert is not polished defensively. You know, on the starting 5, I think Bilal just fits better. Corey Kispert, I'm a fan. You know, he's a shooter. You know, when he's hitting the shots, man, when he's on his game, he's a threat. You know, he can tend to cut. He's got a high basketball IQ, but you know what I'm saying? Defensively, he's around average. You know, he's not really going to stop many people. So he's mainly a shooter. He's mainly an offensive player. And we're going to talk about Johnny Davis. Obviously, Johnny Davis is a lot better at defense, but I definitely believe that after the deadline, because like I said, we know what's going on right now. There's a log jam. They're still trying to figure out, they're trying to boost the values. A lot of these veteran expiring deals like Landry Shamet, Danilo Gallinari, DeLon Wright, you know, he's injured, but definitely he has value. But we'll see. And Tyus Jones. I mean, I definitely think Tyus Jones, out of all the veteran expiring deals, has the most value, right? So I think that eventually you're going to have to move on from either DeLon Wright or Tyus Jones, and maybe both, depending on what they can get back as far as assets or young players. But long term, I think Jordan Poole is better with the ball in his hands. Playing off ball just doesn't seem like the fit for him. And I know a lot of people have mentioned that and kind of observed that about his games, that I think he works best at point guard. So definitely a lineup with Jordan Poole and Bilal in the same backcourt, I think will work. I definitely think it worked, especially long term. I think, especially, I mean, man, if you look ahead real quick, you know, heading into next year's draft, you know, we got Denny here. I mean, Kyle Kuzma for right now, but he is definitely a tradable player. But Bilal and Denny, defensive guys who their offensive games are definitely coming along, right? If you can grab maybe an Alex Sarr, you got a young guy at center, you know, or if you go point guard, you go on Isaiah Collier or DJ Wagner. Or if we get to number 1, a lot of people, I mean, and it changes, you know, 1 through 5 often changes, right? But Ron Holland was an option. So, I mean, can you play Denny at the 4? There's a lot of options as far as the next couple drafts for this team because we're rebuilding, but, you know, we have a lot of guys who are versatile. You know, Denny, he's a small forward, but can he play at the 4? If you go get a Ron Holland, absolutely. I believe you can. And that is a nice lineup, you know, especially, but in my opinion, this is my opinion, and y'all know I have no problem conveying my opinion. We need to go to this next year's draft with two lottery picks, because if you can grab 2 high impact rookies at his draft, man, that can speed up the rebuild, and you got a nice young squad, especially when it's spearheaded by Denny Avia and Bilal Coulibaly. I mean, with that being your foundation, and Jordan Poole, look, we're not going to write off Jordan Poole yet. We know that, look, you got booed in the Mavs game. He tended to be a little Hollywood. You know, he's got maturing to do. But if this coaching staff, if this front office, if Wes Unseld himself and Kyle Kuzma as a leader on this team can work with him, get him straight, then you have a really good foundation here in DC. And the realistic thing is, in 3 to 4 years, we could be a team that's up and coming and ready to compete in the Eastern Conference. We just had to draft well. And I think we started with that with Bilal Coulibaly. You know, we did not miss on Bilal, man. We did not miss on him. And I guess we didn't miss on Denny either, in my opinion. I mean, I get it. I pump my brakes real quick. I know we were supposed to get Tyrese Halliburton, but I mean, I'm just not one of those guys that really live in the past, man. Let's look at the fact that Denny needed to be developed a little bit. But if he really, really breaks out this year, then he can definitely be a diamond in the rough in that draft class, in my opinion. So, yeah, I get it. Tyrese Halliburton, man, you make that pick. This is an entirely different team. I get that, man. But, you know, you could say there's so many what ifs in Wizards history, right? I mean, think about it. The year under the Gilbert Arenas era, man, when we traded the number 7 pick for Randy Foye and Mike Miller, we are in position to get Stephen Curry. I mean, time and time again, man, we found ourselves in position to get generational players, and we just failed. But, you know, look at victories where you can get them, man. I think Denny's definitely going to break out this year. And Bilal Coulibaly, man, I'm trying to tell you, these two are definitely part of the young foundation of this franchise. And I definitely believe that Jordan Poole still is. So, would they work in the same backcourt? I say yes. Comment below. Let me know what you guys think. Could Bilal Coulibaly and Jordan Poole work in the same backcourt? Definitely let me know. So next, we're going to look at Johnny Davis. Does he have trade value? He might, and a change of scenery could help. We're going to talk about that. But before we do, tonight's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. So what is PrizePicks? It's the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. We are the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. It's just you versus the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you pick more or less than your 2 to 6 players stat projections, and you watch the winnings roll in. So with the basketball season here, right, you can now pick combo projections across football and basketball from the Specials League, a league created especially for combo projections that includes 2 or more players from different sports or leagues. For example, LeBron James plus Travis Kelce at 10.5 combo of 3 points made and plus receptions. Want to play alongside some of PrizePicks' favorite players like rapper Meek Mill and comedian Andrew Schultz? You can do that. You can now find community plays under the promos tab of the app to view entries from some of the biggest names in PrizePicks community each week. PrizePicks even offers a reboot policy that your entries stay in play, even if one of your players gets injured, which is big, man, because I hate when they get hurt right before the game. For football and basketball games, if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, that player is rebooted. PrizePicks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy. So go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use code LOCKEDON for a first deposit match up to $100. And again, go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use code LOCKEDOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. So finally, before we roll out tonight, Johnny Davis. Obviously, he's the big topic right now. It being a rebuild, and we knew going into the season there was going to be a logjam. Landry Shamet's there, Corey Kisper's there. You know, where do you find minutes for Johnny Davis? But now that DeLon Wright is out, I believe a lot of you believe that this could be a time to kind of give minutes to Johnny Davis and see what he can do. And in the early part of the year, 15 minutes was really the expectation, but now he's been getting DMPs, and then against the Mavs, he got garbage time 6 minutes. So what is his trade value? Well, a lot of people said none, but I do believe he does have trade value. And I'm going to tell you why, because he can defend at a high level. Defense is starting to get back into being a commodity in the NBA. Now, we get it. The NBA has changed with the emergence of Steph Curry and really Klay Thompson and shooters like them. Three-point shooting has become an emphasis, especially if you look at positions like the center position, power forward position, where before, you know, when I was growing up with Patrick Ewing and Olajuwon and many other centers, Shaq, they weren't shooting no three-pointers. But now you got guys like Cat, you know, Jokic, who are sitting back there and they're hitting three-pointers at a higher percent. And the same thing with power forward. So three-point shooting is definitely the hot commodity in the NBA. But I believe defense is too, especially if you look at current, you know, deals that happened within the last 2 to 3 seasons. Rudy Gobert, a strictly defensive player, they got a big haul for him, you know, as far as the Jazz. So, and if you look at players like Marcus Smart, thank you. Marcus Smart, 2 first-round picks for Marcus Smart, which is a defensive-minded player. So Johnny Davis, because his defense is going to have value. And I'm not expecting a first-round pick. I'm not even expecting a second-round pick. But I think that if you look at a player like James Wiseman from Detroit, who, like Johnny Davis, is earning DMPs, a guy who hasn't quite figured it out yet. If you look at James Wiseman, I believe he played 3 to 4 games in Memphis because they had the whole scandal with Penny Hardaway and his family getting benefits coming over to Memphis. So he didn't play a full college year. When he was drafted, he was very, very raw. And he remains very, very raw. But this is a rebuild. You know, you got to see if this coaching staff can work with him. We need depth at the center position because I think if you slide him behind Gaff, because Mike Muscala ain't it, man. I like Mike Muscala. I like everybody. I just love basketball, man. I really had no ill will towards anybody, but Mike Muscala just ain't it, man. Not long term. Definitely, I think he's a guy that can slide into a deal as far as a salary filler. But James Wiseman backing up Gaff, especially going to, you know, and another thing, another knock that people have against that acquisition is he's on an expiring deal. But here's the thing: if he pans out, the Wizards have a lot of leverage to sign him to a team-friendly deal because he's very raw. He's still a very raw prospect. So if you can get him straight and at least turn him into at least a really good rim protector, a lob threat, and a guy who, you know, if you look at his highlights at Memphis and early on in the NBA career, he can stretch the floor a little bit. So if you can see what you can get out of James Wiseman, change the scenery trade for both him and Johnny Davis, I think that is a good move. So again, comment below. Let me know what you guys think, man. Should the Wizards make a move for James Wiseman, and would a change of scenery help Johnny Davis? So again, appreciate you guys, man. Like again, shout out to my man. He had to take the day off, man, because he's got to get his mind right for that game on Friday night, man. So definitely shout out to my guy, the real Ed Oliver, man. But appreciate you guys rocking with me going solo today. So we're going to go ahead and call it a day. So again, Friday night, 7 o'clock, watch the game. Go to the game if you can. Show your support. We're rebuilding. We're not going to be very good, but show your support, man. Because we got to build this fan base up too. Let's get excited about the prospect of this team. In my opinion, will be a good team. Just give them time, man, because rebuilds take time. But this front office, they have an eye for talent, and I don't think it's going to be as long as you guys think it is, man. So comment below, let me know what you guys think. Where you get your podcast, a 5-star review is much appreciated, y'all. And on the YouTube side of things, like, subscribe, comment below. Let me know what you guys think about all the content we covered tonight. If you're not a member of Locked On Wizards, man, definitely consider subscribing to this channel, man. We're doing a lot of good content, man. I mean, we come on here, we have fun, we chop it up with you guys. It's definitely a good time on here with us. So appreciate you guys, man. Everybody have a good night, a good weekend. Have a blessed weekend, everybody. And we'll see you guys Sunday. Everybody take care.
You are